Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devin Klein.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation.
Hey, Burn Nation. Welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. We have a very special episode for you this time around. Trisha and I, we are live from Burn Bootcamp Summit 2025 here in Arlington, Texas. So welcome to the beautiful Lowe's Hotel. We have AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys play. We have Globe Life Field where the Texas Rangers play, and also the ballpark at Arlington, the house that my favorite pitcher ever, Nolan Ryan, had built. And we just wanted to make sure that we captured the energy here at Summit to bring to you right through your earphones at home. So welcome to the podcast today. And let me just give it a little intro here. We've been talking about fitness, nutrition, psychology, and the intersection of those three things. And this podcast will continue to be about that. And as you've noticed, we've taken a real thematic approach each week to Trisha and I's episode, and then my Ask Devin Anything episode, where I actually break down what her and I had a chance to talk about. We're going to just take a momentary break from that. All right. Our next episode, we'll get right back online, but we wanted just to slow down a little bit and talk about Burn Bootcamp, the history of Burn Bootcamp, where we've been. I'll talk about all, the inception of Burn Bootcamp, where we're at now, and where we're going, and hopefully we can share some really good stories that just give you some color behind the scenes to what Burn is. And for those of you that are newer to the podcast, welcome, and those of you that have been around for the last decade watching us grow, well, hopefully there's some new stories in here for you as well. But Trisha, you've been here for practically the whole time, not the whole time, but practically the whole time. And, this is a very special moment for me to be able to chat with you through the history and the years of Burn Bootcamp.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. I think, I'm sure you get tons of DMs just about Summit in general from members. I know I have been getting them all weekend. I get them in previous years. So I'm excited for you guys to also hear a little bit more about Summit and what we're doing here at Summit. And then also, take us through the timeline. I started as a member, so I have like these feelings and memories of watching the brand grow from a member perspective. And then now obviously I get to see like the behind the scenes and into your brain from the visionary perspective. So it's been really special for me too.
Well, you are quite the visionary yourself and my partner, not only in marketing, but here on the podcast and also in training. We work out together every chance we can back at our flagship at Lake Norman, and definitely working out side by side here as we did our first ever Burn on Demand live workout from the lawn here at Summit. Trisha, in a moment, I'm going to ask you just to give the people at home some statistics around like who's here from Summit and just kind of add some color to that. And, what have been your favorite parts of Burn Summit, and what does this really do for the organization? What is Summit? I think is a good place to start. So take it over from there. And then after that, I'll go through the years, and we'll start to have a conversation from 2012 and our inception and our founding to where we're going to be 12 years from now.
Yeah, no. So Summit, for those of you who don't know, it is our opportunity to bring in Burn Nation, all of our Burn Bootcamp franchise partners. They get to bring their operations managers, their child watch managers, the trainers, their whole staff gets to come. And it's a couple of days, a weekend of us just pouring into each other. We have what we call breakout sessions. So there's different topics. So from marketing to training to sales, you name it, just so we can all pour into each other, learn from each other. We're a big feedback culture. You guys know that if you're a Burn Bootcamp member, you know that feedback is important to us. And something that's really special, I think, about Burn Bootcamp that is different than potentially other franchise organizations is we actually have our franchise partners, our trainers, helping lead some of these sessions. So not only do we, from an HQ perspective, get to pour into our franchise partners, but then they get to pour into us, and we get to learn from them because they are boots on the ground. And how can we help understand what's actually going on in the locations, and how can we continue to improve and optimize the experience? So that's really what Summit is a moment for us to all get together and learn and really just be a big community. All right, so I'm going to look at my phone and give you guys some stats because they're pretty impressive. So we have over 1,000 attendees across Burn Nation. So last year we actually broke the 1,000 record. So we're continuing to get bigger and bigger here at Summit. We have 528 operational leaders here, and then we have 234 franchise partners. So a lot of great people here, a lot of great opportunities for us to learn just what's going on in the community.
Yeah, 312 trainers. Our vendors and sponsors, we couldn't do this without vendors like MindBody that really powers the back end of everything, of all your memberships. And in making sure that you can book camps and check in, and powers your Keep Moving Club, to Power Systems, which supplies the equipment inside of our gyms. We have 75 of our HQ members here from Burn Media Co. from our HQ gyms. This is cool. 29 volunteers, members from the state of Texas that are local, that came in to help us run our pop-up shop, etc.
Pop-up shop. Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys, if you know, the pop-up shop is hype here at Summit. So we love having now the system, which we call internally, like, come and help us with pop-up shop, because it is a crazy town. You guys are going to see some behind the scenes footage on social, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, and we're in 44 states, and almost all of them showed up here at Summit. And listen, over 370 locations are here. Not every location made it to Summit this year, but just having the 95% of our gyms here has been really, really special. It's a great attendance. We're so excited for it. And listen, if you're at home and you're like, I've been thinking about, potentially being an owner of Burn, there is so much opportunity. I mean, especially in the great state of California, right here in Texas, east coast of Florida, up in the New England, the whole New England area, including New York, including New Jersey, and all the New England states, the Midwest and Chicago. I mean, I could keep going on and on. The Northwest in Seattle, Washington. Listen, there is so much opportunity, and if you've been thinking about it, what I want you to do is make sure that you hit me up. You can hit me up right on Instagram, devin.klein, and I want to talk to you directly about it because, I know almost every single person, all 1,100 plus people that are here, and we definitely take pride in being able to be close, be a family with our team, with our franchise partners. And yeah, there's new faces here that I don't know, that I'm just getting to meet for the first time, but also ones that have been around for a decade. And Trisha, you've been here for almost a decade too. When was your very first camp? Let's start there. Your very first camp. Do you remember the month and year?
So I do, because my middle son, who is now 9, he was 2 months old. I had to wait until, because to go to Child Watch, you guys know you have to have, your child has to be at least 8 weeks old. And so I think it was like the day he turned 8 weeks old, I had been hearing so much hype about Burn Boot Camp. And honestly, it was, I've told my story before, but it was the Child Watch aspect that I was really excited about, to be able to go get my 45 minutes in by myself and let my kids play. So that would have been that would have been September of 2016.
Okay, September 2016. So then we'll rewind 4 years back to 2012. So Morgan and I moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. She works with Kellogg's. She's climbing the corporate ladder, selling cereal. And then she was helping me train in the evening. Now, we started Burn in a parking lot, literally a parking lot, because we were 24-year-old kids and no landlord should have given us a lease deal anyway, because we were broke. She was supporting the family at the time, just her and I, and she was Morgan Stevens and I was Devin Klein at the time, but we had been together since we were very young, and since we were like 12 years old. And I remember I wrote an article that got picked up by a local paper that said ex-professional baseball player trains local moms. And then it talked about the free Child Watch that we had. Well, the free Child Watch at the time was literally just a spare room in the Fun to Be Fit gymnastics studio, and we would have Child Watch in the morning for 3 camps, and then I'd have an early AM camp too with no Child Watch, and then 2 camps in the PM outside, literally in the parking lot. And these were the humble days, the humble beginnings of Burn. And throughout 2020 or throughout 2012, 2013, 2014, we started to grow those parking lot-esque gyms. They were really just sublease gyms.
Were we Fit Community of Moms then too? Is that coming up in the timeline?
Yeah, so people often ask me, like, what were the things that you originally started with that are still here today? And it's the workout and the programming, right? And personal training in a group setting. It's Child Watch. One thing that isn't here today, but it's still the spirit of our company, is Charlotte's Fit Community of Moms. That was our tagline. What's our tagline now, Trish?
Inspire, empower, transform.
Right. So it has, I would say, evolved, although the spirit of our organization is still, and always will be, mom, right? Women and their families. That is our mission. But if we wanted to grow outside of the Charlotte area, we had to drop Charlotte. And then people kept calling in and saying, hey, do I have to be a mom to join? And the answer was no, you didn't have to be a mom to join. Everything that we do, all of the design, from the interior design to the programming to Child Watch to marketing, literally was made for mom. So yeah, Child Watch was present from day one. Guess what else was present from day one?
Focus meetings?
Focus meetings. Yep, that was here from day one. Actually,
Floating
that was
floor?
maybe not day one. That was probably month 6 when I started focus meetings, because my members were coming to me and they were asking me, Devin, how do I eat? And I was like, I don't even know. I knew how to eat for myself, but I didn't know how to, educate a mom of 3 how to, eat in like a normal family environment. So I had to learn all those things. So focus meetings was by popular demand for sure. What else did you say?
Floating floor?
Floating floor was day one. Yep, floating floor. You know why? Because in the morning camps, in the gymnastics studio, it was a springboard floor.
Yep.
And it's, fast forward a couple years later, when we finally were able to show financial stability to go get our own lease, my members were like, DK, we want you to go. We really dig this idea of like getting out of the gymnastics studio. And this is hundreds of members at the time. They're like, but can we take the gymnastics floor with us? And so, yeah, and then I figured out how to make it a little bit cheaper because we needed to be able to scale it to our locations. We made it a little bit cheaper. And yeah, floating floor is still here today as a staple.
I think that's the first time I've heard that.
Really?
Yeah, no, I learned something new today.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
Okay, so I show up, and God bless Fun to Be Fit Gymnastics Center, but one morning, we're killing it, right? I've got hundreds of members out of this place. This guy that subleased to me, he had no idea I was going to be this successful, right? So now I got all this wear and tear on his building, et cetera, et cetera. So he took my rent from $400 a month up to $4,000 overnight with no notice.
What?
And then I told him no because we had a contract signed. And then I showed up one morning, and literally the door to Fun to Be Fit was locked. It was locked and my key wouldn't work. And thankfully, we had already started the transition over to the Huntersville Burn Boot Camp gym. I basically stand at the door of Fun to Be Fit, and I route people over to the gym because
Really?
you know me. I refuse not to get the
Oh, for
workout in. We're working out. I don't care if it's raining, shining. We'll be rain warriors, right? So we go over, we work out, but the floating floor had just been built, but the mat wasn't in yet. So the very first camp in the very first brick and mortar Burn Boot Camp location was literally on plywood with my Beats Studio, Studio Beats little pill, the Beats pill.
Yeah.
I had one of those and I bumped music through that.
I had never heard that one either.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have photos?
Back then it was like Facebook was just getting started and I wasn't very marketing focused.
Bummer.
I don't have a ton of stuff. I've got some parking lot photos.
Yeah,
I've got the Dodge Challenger that I use.
I remember seeing that around Cornelius, and I wasn't a member yet.
Yeah.
So, hey, touch point marketing, it worked.
Yeah. I was known as the guy in the boot camp car for a while. And speaking of what's been here since day one, guess what I used to sell out of the back of my Dodge Challenger?
Activewear.
Burn Activewear. Our very first shirt said, "Your workout is our warm up." That was
that.
You remember that? Do you remember that one?
I don't remember that one. I know I had like a bunch from back in the day that I cannot find, and I'm so mad at myself for not having those. But we've had some good activewear over the years too.
I'm actually kind of surprised how it actually worked because like here I am like this 24-year-old guy going up to like moms in the grocery store being like, hey, train with me. I'll give you a free t-shirt. That's my marketing game plan. And then like I'm in this drug dealer looking car. It's a Challenger on 24-inch rims. It's a matte silver
I was
Challenger.
just gonna give it some color,
Yeah.
what it looked like.
Yeah. What does it look like from your perspective?
It was a silver. Yes. Was it matte? Or
It was matte
I
silver.
thought it had
Yeah.
a shine to it. And then it had just logos on everywhere you could put a logo. Is our old logo with Sally.
Yep.
The
Our
Sally
Flamehead.
Flamehead, who's like our vintage. We'll never get rid of her. She's vintage. She's special to us. But that was all over two sides. And I can't remember what was on the back, but I definitely remember the side view of that car.
Yeah, and it was burnbootcamp.com. I had the logo had a .com after it so that people could look at the logo and then actually know where to go. And then, it had like 24-inch like drug dealer looking rims. And then you can imagine this, like I have my trunk open at like after a 5:30 a.m. camp. It's all dark and we're in a parking lot.
Selling actively.
Right, and I'm selling activewear. Like, what a enticing proposition! I must have been a hell of a trainer to be able to pull that one off.
That's great.
But
well, you knew what you knew what the women wanted.
Yeah.
You were at 24. You knew the game and you played it well.
Well, I did because I lived in host families' houses while I was playing baseball, and so I got a chance to see what it looked like to be a normal American family. And I've always been a keen observer of nature. I kind of had needed that to grow up, and I kind of grew up in survival mode. So, for me to actually thrive in my environment, I would have to always be on the lookout for what was around the corner. And I think that translates well into business or into, just being able to observe human nature. And I noticed that, and I made those connections very early on. I think that's one thing that has helped propel the brand is just my ability to see something in the world, see a human need, and then reverse engineer a solution to that problem. And so, we really started with that niche, and you had no money like to go market. So it was like literally guerrilla style promotion. Like I said, taking clipboards to soccer fields and baseball fields and, signing women up at the gymnastics center, signing moms up like, hey, if you guys want a community of moms and, you want some love and support, some encouragement and to train hard. And like, I got a clipboard, and I would literally pass out clipboards, and that would be my way of like generating leads. I'd go to the grocery store, and I would stand out front, and I remember bartering with the grocery stores. If you guys give me a 10% off coupon that I can give to every person that comes through here, allow me to stand outside and like solicit people, basically. And they were like, yeah, I mean, if you're going to drive sales for the store, I'm like, if I give them a 10% coupon and tell them what to buy with this grocery list, right? I added value to myself and the store, and it worked out really well as a partnership. And that was like our core strategy. And then we would go to Lowe's and Target and Home Depot, and we'd flyer all of the cars with like, 7 or at the time 14-day test drives was what we called it.
And that's still that strategy still lives true with what we do with our local marketing, which is turned into what we call joint ventures. Is that how that kind of concept started when your brain?
100%.
Yeah.
I think everything that we did in the first couple years, it works because all we had was grit and sweat and effort and human connection, and that's still the cornerstone of the company. And now we got all the fancy stuff and the digital spend and your marketing technology team and everything that goes into it. But I mean the core of who we are from those early parking lot days, from product to community orientation to everything, it hasn't changed. Morgan and I spent every single weekend for like the first 4 years at some type of expo. We literally punted our 20s. Like, or that's maybe a bad way to put it. Like we happily gave up partying on the weekends in our 20s so that we could build something that's great.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah, for
Burn
sure.
Nation appreciates it.
For sure. It's definitely my pleasure. So let's move to 2013. This is where people start asking us, hey, what is this thing? What are you doing? Right? We expanded from Huntersville to Cornelius, which was a sublease movie theater.
Really?
You remember that one?
That was my home gym. I didn't know it was a movie theater.
It was a movie where there's a place called Elevation Church now that rented a old movie. It used to be the movie theater. A dance studio rented the old movie theater. Then we rented from the dance studio. So it was a sublease. And funny story, this literal building was on AMC's America's Most Haunted Places in America, and I found that out after we actually were doing camps in it, and I was like, I had to tell my trainer, and he was my good buddy Brett Baltatat. Shout out to Brett Baltatat. He's the only person I knew in Charlotte when I moved to Charlotte, so I was like, hey man, will you like help me, please? He was working at Kellogg's with Morgan. And yeah, it was on AMC's Most Haunted Places in America.
It could have been a PR nightmare.
Now it's a church, right? So the demons are gone. So 2013, we're doing that. We're growing, and we begin to get interest. Shout out to Mike and Andrea Hartshorn, our first location in Concord. They had some interest back then. Mike Hartshorn was one of my very first partners in training. And Aaron Studdard from Durham, North Carolina, heard about it through a friend through the grapevine and was like, hey, I want to bring this to my community, but we weren't ready for it. So I said, hang tight. We got some more. We got, like I said, 5 quote unquote subleased parking lot gyms open is how we coin it today. And then we started flipping those into brick and mortar. And this is when we allowed those 2, our 5 to become 7. So we spent the majority of 13, 14, and 15 doing that. Did you hear about Burn during those years, or was it really 16 when you first heard about it?
No, I heard about it in 2015. I remember vividly. And then because I had my first child and I was working out, you know Shannon Spake.
Yeah, I do know Shannon Spake. Shout out to her.
Yeah, shout out Shannon. I worked out with her at another, it was a big box gym, like just classes there. And she was going to Burn in Cornelius. And she's like, Trisha, you would love the workouts. And I had just found out I was pregnant with my second. And so I was like, oh, no, not right now, not right now. I mean, I know some of you guys thinking this, you guys all had the same, like, not right now, not right now. And that's why we talk about for marketing, you never know when you're going to hit someone at the right time and change their life. So I heard about it from her. And then after my second was born is when I started.
Okay. So during this time, as you know, we're building awareness. We didn't quite get to you yet. But what we're doing in 12, 13, and 14, because we had no, big budgets to market, I went and I got my way into the local regional affiliates, the syndications for ABC, NBC, Fox. We went to the CW, and I was the local fitness guy on all of the major, but not the major networks, but the Charlotte regional, syndicated ones, the affiliates. Yeah. And I was their guy. I was their go-to fitness expert on all 4. Which was unheard of, right? Because they're competitors,
right?
So usually if the one has a guy and the another has a gal, and they have somebody else. I was on all 4, which I was like, I hope I'm doing this right, But I was so passionate about it, and I would show up and do everything that I could to add value to these amazing media organizations. And then I was a regular every month. I remember Colleen Odegaard on Charlotte Today. All right, shout out to Colleen Odegaard. I was trying so hard to get into these into these media spots because I knew that there was this unwritten rule, this relationship that media had with the viewers that it was just trust. Yeah. And if I could get in these different shows, I would create trust, and I wouldn't have to pay for it. Yeah. Right? I could just go give my time and my energy and my enthusiasm. And one day, so I tried this for 8 months straight, literally every day. I was trying just 8 months straight, pitching, figuring out how to pitch. Getting no's, getting ghosted completely most of the time. Yep. One day my phone rings. I'm living in a little tiny apartment up in 4th Ward, up in Uptown Charlotte, with my 2 German Shepherds, by the way, and Morgan. It's a tiny apartment. Colleen calls me. Ring, ring, ring. Hello. Hi, this is Colleen Odegaard from the Charlotte Today Show. Is this Devin? This is Devin. Hi, Colleen. How are you? I know about you. Yeah, for sure. Would you like to come on? And I read your blog post that you sent me about tips for busy moms. Would you like to come on, and would you like to talk about 2 or 3 of these tips on Charlotte Today? And I was like, I put the phone down, and she knows this story. I put the phone down, and I did one of those little boy or little girl things where I was like, yeah! I was so excited. And then I picked up the phone nice and poised. I was like, well, yes, ma'am. I would absolutely like to, what do you need? When can I be there? How can I show up? Will I have details? What can I wear? How can I add value? Awesome. Good. Great. Yes. Boom. I hung up the phone, and literally my German Shepherd, God bless you, Zoe, she's gone today. But Zoe and I was so pumped up that Zoe and I went outside and ran around our building. I was playing with her. Yeah. I was high-fiving Zoe. She was my only person I knew in Charlotte at the time. So she was my buddy, my partner in crime. She saw all the inner workings of me pounding the pavement in the early days. So yeah, that started that kind of whole career. And then fast forward from 12 to 13, this was in 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, all the way into 18. Morgan and I did over 250 regionally syndicated to nationally syndicated segments. We were on Fox and Friends. We were on daytime TV down in Tampa, a bunch of regional stuff. I remember one time we drove all the way down to Alabama, 5 hours for a 5-minute segment, had breakfast, turned around, and drove all the way back.
Dang.
Yeah, that's how dedicated we were to getting the word out.
Well, and I think at the time that's what you had to do because there was no social media. Like social media wasn't what it was today. And to your point, like to build the trust, viewers were watching morning shows. I don't think that that's as relevant today. You would probably do something a little different, but back then that's what you needed to do, and you pounded the pavement and you made it happen.
For sure, yeah, definitely would start the Burn Boot Camp podcast. That'd be the first thing that I would do today in retrospect. But we continued to expand into 14. Like I said, we flipped all 7 of these gyms over into brick and mortar. And then we officially launched in 2015 nationwide, and we opened up as a franchise. And like, you know this story, right? What happened next? Maybe you can talk to it, but like what happened next, as Tricia is about to explain, what happened in the first 18 months, like blew my mind. It blew me away and forever changed my life.
Fastest growing fitness franchise
Ever.
was
Yeah.
219.
It was, yeah, so in the first 18 months, we did over 200.
Okay.
Over 200 what we'd call awards, or we awarded 200 locations in the first 18 months. So of those 7 gyms, and then we converted Mike and Andrea and Aaron Studdard into the first 2 franchise partners. Over 200 more signed up in the first 18 months of our business, when I was told that if we could do 2 or 3 locations in like the first year, that we would be off to a really good start.
What was so you guys, I know, or we earned an award that was the fastest growing fitness franchise. What was the record before that? Do you know?
So it was, they had said, this was a company called Fran Data, so franchising data. And they're partners with like Franchise Business Review and just all the big franchise media outlets and everything. So they're very well respected. And I wasn't trying to do this, and I was to my surprise, but they came out with an article that said, it said, Burn Boot Camp is in the 99th percentile of all franchise companies that have entered the market in the last decade. And I was like, wow.
That's crazy.
I wasn't trying to do that. Like, there was no goal. Like, and I think that for those of you entrepreneurs out there who have a business, like, you know, setting like high goals like that sometimes is like superficial, and you just set it to set it. I was just worried about showing up every day and pouring into people and being passionate about what I was doing. And then the business results came after that. It scared me. It was like, how am I going to get these 200 locations open? I have no idea. I have no idea. I got a story to share, but go ahead.
I was gonna say I want to hear it, but they were mostly members, right? That experienced the product and knew that what you and Morgan were creating was special.
I mean, what did it create for your life? Like, just give me 2 cents on that, because that's exactly what it did for other people. I think the same reason why you're sitting here today is the same reason you took a route with me at HQ to be right by my side, be partner in crime. But my franchise partners are partner in crime too, right?
Yeah.
And they're just doing it in a different way.
Well, I think, we have this impressive stat that like 90% of our current franchise partners right now were members first. And going back to the question that you asked me is, and if you're listening and you're a member, you know that your life changed. You might have I went to Burn Boot Camp, for Child Watch, right? But also I had a baby. I needed to like lose some weight, right? Get back into, I was an athlete growing up, wanted to get back into that. Little did I know that I was going to actually just turn my whole life around. And I had been hiding, I might get emotional right now. I had been hiding behind like this wall of like trying to figure out who I should be. And I don't think I know that being able to go to Burn Boot Camp and be my authentic self on the floating floor and not worry about anyone judging me, then allowed me to create this self-confidence that kind of made me feel unstoppable. And that's what I see and hear from members across the board. Our franchise partners tell similar stories. A lot of them are female and they partner with their husbands. But that's what we do for people, is we help them really kind of dig down deep and find who they are to create the confidence. We always say our product is fitness, but we sell confidence in people. And that to me is just really special. So that's what I'm assuming people at the very beginning felt from you and Morgan. And they're like, I want to help people feel the same way. How can we make this bigger?
Well, and that's what the beauty of Summit really is. Yes, it's the educational breakouts. Yes, it's the fire workouts. Yes, it's the Vibos where we all dress to the nines and celebrate each other's success. Yes, it's the general session where I get to, say what's on my mind to our people, at scale, en masse, when I have captive attention. It's all of that great stuff, but more importantly, it's the experiences that people have had just like you, whether it's ops managers who have become franchise partners and gone on the journey, or trainers that are, their franchise partners believe in them and they're bringing them here for the first time to experience all this. It's because this brand changes people's lives. I mean, there was, after our workout today, this an entire segment of our workout just pulled over into the corner and they were all praying together, and it was just so powerful to be in prayer with them and to hear how this business has changed their lives, right? And what God's work is doing through our franchise partners. And it was such an incredible 15-minute kind of post-workout perspective for me to be with them, praying in that group, to hear deeply how this, and everyone's crying, how it impacted them. And then every one-off conversation is all about that, right? It's all about the story, how people have been impacted by this brand. We know that you have too, right? And we know that the path from member to franchise partner is the path of how people actually get here. So if you're somebody that's listening to this and you're a member, or you're somebody that's on a team, or you're just a fan of what we do at Burn and interested in what we have to say, well, we're looking for more franchise partners with open arms. But, getting back to our timeline here, in 2014, or 2015 rather, when we started awarding all these locations, man, I wanted to build a legacy. I didn't want to just make, be one of those fly by the night franchisors. You see brands pop up and then go away right away, you blow up and then fail fast. Well, I snuck into what's called the IFA with a mentor of mine, International Franchising Association. It's a big conference. He's been my guy since the beginning. Shout out to Jeff Duden. He's the first person that ever taught me like that franchising was more than McDonald's and Burger King. And he's a franchisor of a company called Advanaclean, had since sold that, and now owns a company called Homefront Brands, which is a multi-unit franchisor brand right out of Huntersville, North Carolina. And Jeff continues to be a dear friend of mine today. And he allowed me to come in to the IFA underneath his company umbrella, knowing that I was his director of marketing or sales or something like that. Sorry, Jeff, if this is getting you in trouble by any means, but it's just a fundamental part of the story. And I don't say names, but I saw this franchise yogurt brand, and they popped. And this founder was charismatic. He was well-spoken. He got on stage. They had done 1,000 locations awarded. And he was the golden boy of franchising. And I remember being okay, I want to do something like that. But what it turns out is about 8 months later, I was following that story. About 8 months later, the whole bottom end of that whole yogurt business just fell out. None of the franchise partners opened. They all lost their money. Big class action lawsuits. The golden boy was now the shamed franchisor, right? And you can see this. You see this in the fitness industry all the time. This wasn't about building a franchise for us. This was about building a family. It wasn't about building financial freedom for me. It was about building a legacy, right? It was about building a name for myself and respect on the Klein name. At the very essence of it, it was about that for me, and doing something that was great, that people respected, that people loved, that actually really changed their lives. So we had this obligation to get these locations open. We do so. We go super hard. This is probably when you started to find us in 16. We started being everywhere, all over Charlotte. And, Trisha enters the scenes. Little do we know, a handful of years later, you're going to be, your very first role with the company when you became on. It was a trainer, right? Yep. Talk about that journey.
Yeah. So I was in this moment of my life where I just had 2 kids. My husband travels a lot for work. And so I had a a career that I had to put on hold in marketing, and because someone had to be with the kids, right? So I was trying to find myself. I was at Burn Boot Camp. I was like, man, I really just want to help people change. Like, I want to change lives just like this. And also super into fitness. So I'm like, I'm going to get my CPT. I'm going to get my CPT. And I told Cheyenne, she was our lead trainer.
Shout out to my sister.
Yeah, I was like, I'm going to get my CPT and I'm going to be a trainer here. And she was like, I think she gave me like a goal deadline. She's like, how about 6 months? I was like, okay, let's go. So got my CPT, did it at night while the boys were sleeping, and started training. And that led me to, I trained for like 3 years. That led me to be then Bryce Morrow, who is our VP of HQ Gyms, needed a social media person. And my background is marketing. And I was like, I can do that. I could be a trainer, and then I can also do social media. So it was like a part-time role, and it was super fun. So I did social media. I was a social media manager for HQ Gyms, and then a trainer, and then a position opened up on HQ marketing, and I just kind of worked my way up, and now here I am, VP of marketing. I did manifest it though.
Yeah.
I sent Devin an email like really early on, because again, my background's PR and marketing, and I knew there was obviously something special about this brand because it had impacted me so early on. I mean, like, I'm talking like 1 week in, and I was like, I felt like I was a changed person. And I probably could still find the email of me being like, do you need a PR manager? Like, I have a PR background, I can send you my resume.
I'm definitely going to pull that email up. I'm going to find it. I'm going to look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a you're a representation of, there's so much entitlement in this world now of like, hey, I should get this because of that. You knew what you wanted to do. You knew what the ultimate outcome was, and your humility allowed you to step foot in a position where, you were at entry level. Yeah. And then you got in, and then you proved your value by working hard and bringing forth ideas and solving problems. And I think you're such a representation of what professionalism should be, which is don't expect things that you haven't earned, right? Go out and earn it and prove how valuable you really are, and then the world can see. You have to see in yourself first before the world can see you. Yep. And you are just a shining example of that. So I definitely want to shout out my co-host and my buddy for that one, because, yeah, now we're going to the moon together, and I couldn't do it without you. So, all right, so first summit was held in 2016. Everybody told me don't hold a summit your first year. It's expensive. I'm like, okay. Usually what people tell me, you guys will learn this about me, usually what people tell me not to do, that's evidence that I'm going to do it, right? 99% of people say, hey, don't open your summit. I'm like, oh.
Like, watch this.
You guys aren't doing that? Good. I'm going to do that because that sounds like a good idea. And so we do it in Wilmington. There's like 30 attendees. Our audio video doesn't work. We can barely do presentations, but it doesn't matter. We just show up. Like, we worked out in a parking lot. Like, I didn't even know what audio video meant, AV meant 3 years ago. Before that, we're going to go do a summit. And so during 16, we launched Summit for the first time in Wilmington, North Carolina. Also, we launched Burn Nutrition in 2016. Before then, we always had nutrition be a part of the business, but it was Shackley. By the way, shout out Shackley. I still take Vitalizer to this day. But we wanted to build a fitness-specific nutrition company around our workout that was very specific to Burn Boot Camp, what you take before your workout, during your workout, after your workout. Our first product was called Afterburn. So that was there from pretty much the beginning of the franchise. But the first flavor was called Iced Cinnamon. It's called Iced Cinnamon. And I got to shout out Jolene Perchia on that one, because she was our former VP of franchise development and senior VP of franchise development, and she helped me with the branding on the first one. And if anybody knows Jolene, which you probably do if you've been around here a long time, Iced Cinnamon is very Jolene-esque. That's definitely a name that that her and I worked on together. But now Iced Cinnamon has been sunset, and now vanilla and chocolate are the two staples to the Afterburn product line. And now we have bars and Replenish and
seasonal
Ignite
flavors.
And seasonal flavors and cookies and cream just dropped. So Burn Nutrition is kicking absolute butt, but that's been here since 2016. 2017, let's see, we opened our 100th location.
You told that story
Yeah.
on the podcast before, which was the first time I'd heard that story, which is a pretty powerful story. We should link that in the notes.
Yeah, we should link that in the notes. Do we remember what episode that was by chance, where we told the 100 location story?
I could probably go back and find.
Okay, we will.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. We'll go find it. But 100th location in Asheville, North Carolina, and just a brief summary on it. You guys can go deeper in the show notes. But it changed my life. I saw a line of people standing outside of the Asheville gym for what we used to call orientation. We'd come in and invite everybody in, and I'd go to the location and give a speech. And I remember like high-fiving people with like tears in my eyes because there was literally people wrapped all the way around the building. And I turn right around one of the corners and there's another line. And then I take a right around the third corner and another line. And it was just so special. And that's the same year where I tripled down on what I told my franchise partners, all 200 plus of those locations, that I was going to do, which was support them, get them open, and make this the third best decision that they've ever made in their life. Most of them were already married and had kids, so I couldn't take that. But this was going to be the most important business decision you've ever made in your life. And I told them, and I'll manifest with them, you are going to be part of making this great. You're going to be the original pioneer. When we look back in 5 years from now, like we are today, or 10 years from now, you are going to be the one at the center of all of this. And I really helped manifest that with them from the very beginning. And to do so, I put my money where my mouth was. I invested $1 million of my own capital. This was about all I had. Like, I know that sounds like a lot of money, but we popped early on, and like I was financially successful at 26 years old, way more successful than I thought I was ever going to be in my whole life. And I took all of that, literally all of it, and dumped it back into payroll to hire people so that we could bring people on. That was one of the scariest moments of my life because it's like, what if this doesn't work? And there's always that doubt and that fear. But it drove me, and now, we continue to invest ahead of the growth curve. You lead the premier marketing team in fitness, and if not the premier marketing team in franchising. There's some pretty good ones up there with the big 1,000-unit models and everything, but I don't know, Trisha. What you're doing with your marketing team in-house is a testament to how we're dedicated to our system.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that's because we have never strayed away from our core values, and I think that that's really important. Like my whole team, when we hire, we make sure that they are core value aligned because I am also going to get emotional about core values, Devin. I don't know why.
You can get emotional about core values.
But they mean a lot to us and our culture at Burn Boot Camp. And I've always said since day one, even before getting into my seat now, is that's how we're going to make our decisions for marketing, is always lean on our core values. So if we're ever making a decision, it's let's lean back on our core values. It might not show up in your face in our marketing, but our core values are authenticity, integrity, pride in results, and people first. And that's always, so when now you're hearing this, you think about the things that we do and the way that we say things and the way that we show up in the world, it's all because of our core values. And I think that that's what's also giving us longevity, is because it creates consistency, and consistency is like really priority for me as a human being. And so I'm proud of my whole team. Like I have some of them here. They work really hard because we all really truly believe in this brand.
Yeah, we definitely do. And shout out to Jordan and Chelsea, who are producing the podcast here at Summit, and Leslie, who is my executive assistant for the past couple years, 3 years almost, and has made my life so much easier and so much better. We just love our team at HQ, and we're one big family within the family, and we're the nucleus, we're the core. We understand our responsibility and our obligation to work hard and to show up, and we continue to do so. And it started really with that $1 million investment early on. And so that was scary, but it worked, and we started opening locations, right? We're getting these 200 plus that we awarded initially, we're getting them open. I go back to the IFA. I give a marketing speech in front of like 1,000 people. I'm up there with a backwards hat on. I got like my trainer gear on. Everybody else in the room's in a suit, and that's just how I roll. Like I don't care about the judgment authentic. Or what people care about, say about me. I really don't care. You think I'm great? Fine. You think I'm stupid? Fine. Like that's good with me, because I was a baseball player. I got the boos and I got the cheers. And guess what? I'm on the field. I'm the one that's playing. And you're cheering and you're booing, but you're doing so from the stand. So unless you want to get out here and hold a ball in your hand, right, and actually throw it and know what it's like to get a home run hit off you and lose the game, I'm not interested in your judgment of me. Only God can judge me. And so I stood up on stage and gave like a marketing wizardry talk. Like it was my best probably marketing speech I've ever given to this day. And I had a lot. This is what launched Burn Media Co. Because I had a line of people that literally, I came out in a conference hall like this. I had like a DJ was with me at the time, my former executive assistant, now brand manager. she was with me at the time, and we had like a line of 100 people out there, and they were asking me book, and I was taking appointments too, because I'm a giver. Like, I'm just gonna give my time if I have it. Availability is the best ability. And so I gave my time to the point where I had no more time. And it was starting to eat into like my personal life. It was starting to eat into what I needed to do for franchise partners. So then Burn Media Co. was born.
I also haven't heard this story.
Yeah.
And Mayor Bird,
Yes.
who's VP of Media.
Yeah.
She was on the Burn Bootcamp marketing team.
She was
right?
the director of marketing at the time.
Okay.
Yeah, and now she's the VP of media. And so then she moved back to Cincinnati for family purposes, and I didn't want to let her go. So I was like, hey, I got this line of people that I can't book. We need to start a company because they need our help, because we know how to do this franchising thing. They need our help, and we're going to help them. So we launched Burn Media Co. in 2018. And, you know, we had a handful of clients right away. And then we became so good at four-wall service-based businesses. So if anybody out there is four-wall service-based businesses and you need somebody to help you drive leads into your doors and convert those leads and understand what you're going through as a small business owner, we are the best of the best. And now signing on brands like Crust Pizza with their franchise system, Wow Wow Lemonade, we've done HTO, other concepts. Burn Boot Camp's our only fitness concept. We don't play we don't play that game. We're very vertically aligned with different industries. But anyway, I digress. Burn Media was started in 2018, and because of that reason. So I thought that might be interesting for people to know. And then I had written a newsletter every single week since 2012, guerrilla marketing style, right? That's my way to communicate with people, email marketing, all the way up to 2018. And I stopped in 2018. And I diverted my attention to writing a book. I took all those newsletters and everything that I learned, and I wrote Stop Starting Over. And I just put it up on the web, and it was in the top 10 for the health category on Amazon as some like no-name author who just launched a book, and Burn Nation supported it like crazy. And that was the beginning of my authorship. And then fast forward a handful of years later, we're on the USA Today bestsellers list with Burn, the 5-step strategy to in and out of fitness. And I'm working on another one right now that is going to be in alignment with what we talk about on the podcast: eating, training, thinking, and a real memoir story that can of my life that educates and inspires people through that. So that's coming. But anyway, so that's 2018. Trisha, in 2018, you're on the mic ripping camps, right? Yeah. You're busting them out at Lake Norman.
Yep. Is that when we merged too with our Cornelius in Huntersville? Was that 2018?
That was 2018. 2018. We merged the two original gyms, Cornelius, Huntersville, into what you see today, Burn Boot Camp, Lake Norman. And in that same year, in 2019, we had our 275th location open. So 4 years later, after launching 200 plus licenses and being scared out of my mind on whether I'm going to be able to support these locations and get them open or not, we're actually continue to award 275 doors are open. And then what happens in 2020 that everybody knows?
Oh, yeah. The pandemic.
The pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And we had to close all 275 gyms for at least some period of time. But remember that media tour I told you about?
Yeah.
I went to New York City and on a desk side tour. Can you explain to everybody what a desk side tour is in PR?
So you were, I don't know if I've ever actually heard the term desk side tour before.
Okay, so it's when we go and we sit down with the editors of magazines at their desk and we pitch them. Yeah. Right? This is a pitch meeting.
So you did this in 2020?
I did this in 2015, 2016, 2017.
Okay.
I did like 3 tours up in New York City.
Okay.
That one of them was around the Fox and Friends segment that we did. Okay. So we do the desk sides. I walk into where it's the conglomerate that owns like Health Magazine, Parent Magazine. I walk into this amazing studio. They have like a whole hallway full of amazing studios. And I'm like, we need this. So way before I can afford it, I spend $250,000 on a studio. We barely use it for like 3 years. But guess when we needed to use it the most?
During the pandemic.
The pandemic hit. All of our gyms closed. 48 hours later, we got live broadcasting going on in the studio. I step on the mic. 50,000, Trisha. 50,000 members are on what is now today Burn On Demand. 50,000 members have a private YouTube link that we send them. I am so nervous. I remember being like, we call it concurrent in streaming. So, hey, how many concurrents are on right now? Meaning people at one time. 50,000. I'm like, do you mean 500? 5,000? 50,000? Oh, shit. Here we go, right? And we did the very first live workout to 50,000 people. I still have the footage from that today. And it was just the birth of something amazing. Now we have in 2025, we have a team that run Chelsea and Jordan, run Burn On Demand and Burn Bootcamp podcast full time. We stream our athlete games live. Our broadcasting capabilities are amazing. And we have over 15,000 Burn On Demand members, and on top of our, in-gym members. And it all started because the pandemic hit, and instead of running away from members and saying, hey, here's your money back, we'll see you when we see you, we said, you know what, keep your membership, because you're not going to be able to go in the gym. The supply-demand curve shifted, and we're coming right to you. So hang with us. We'll see you Monday morning. And that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that day like it was yesterday, and you held the line. You said to everyone, we're going to hold the line, and you did.
Held the line, baby. Hold the line. That was my call to action. There's few times when leadership is really important, and that's always during the bad times. Anybody can be good during good times. It's very difficult to be a leader that makes decisions in the tough times. So always have respect for leaders that make tough calls out there. All right, so quickly here to round out the podcast, we go into, because that's where the meat of all the stories are, right? Like you guys, most of you have been following for the last couple of years. You get what's coming next. But we grew through the pandemic. The only studio fitness brand to grow through the pandemic, we grew 12%. Our next competitor was down 16%. We opened our 300th location, launched Burn On Demand. 2021 was the year of squares, which nobody really liked the squares, so we'll not talk about that too much. But that was the year of squares where you couldn't high-five each other, which fundamentally changed the brand. Air fives, please don't air five in the gyms anymore. Just high fives. You can't transfer the energy through the air. You can only transfer it through the touch. 2022 is a rebuild year. Our franchise partners were trying to get back on their feet, get going, get some momentum rolling again. We start to rehire. We start to bring on more team members. We're investing ahead of the curve. We're still doing Summit, by the way. We didn't miss a year. We did it. We figured out how to do it. There was like a little window in 2021 where we did it in Charlotte, which, was like middle of COVID, but everybody showed up and we did it anyway. And I'm glad that we did that. 2023 is a big year because then we launched the Burn Bootcamp app officially. Official launch in October 2023, along with our internal app called Burn Bootcamp Intelligence, and began building really that infrastructure. 2024, best year. We're breaking records again, records over and over, all-time records every month in 2024, regaining the growth, regaining momentum across all of our divisions. Our membership is back online. We roll out a brand new perspective on the fitness product now that we're not in squares anymore. We introduced an invent group periodization. You hear us talk about that on the podcast. We had already invented group personal training, and now we're off to the races, with a product that is bar none, the industry standard for us. And in 2025, in February 2025, this company was like, I wasn't even trying to do this, but I looked down in February at some statistics, and we crossed $1 billion in sales as a lifetime, as an organization, and just the company valuation exceeds well over $400 million. And it's just none of that stuff is important to me, but it's validating because all of the hard work and all of the times, when we drove to Alabama, when we didn't have the support to get those 200 locations going and I couldn't sleep at night, to when the pandemic hit and I had to make the call to shut down 275 gyms, to 2022 and 2021, which were just like hellish nightmare years. Like, all of the, those numerical statistics just kind of validate that we made the right decisions through those times. So
yeah, well, and I don't know about you, Devin, but I'm feeling I always feel momentum, but I feel more momentum for this brand than I ever have before. I mean, our brand positioning is solid, right? And now we know we just need more brand. We want to become the household name. So I think that that's now the next step is how do we become, the biggest fitness brand in the world? And I am excited. I feel like 2025 is almost that catapult year for us. I have some really big goals for marketing. So 2026, we're coming after you, and we're going to do big things.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And I stepped on stage in 2023, and I said, to the moon. And what that means is that we have a dream big enough here at Burn Boot Camp so that you, an ambitious person that's listening to this right now, that resonates with what we're saying, that your big dreams and your talent and all the intangibles that you bring to the table, that your dream can fit within that dream. It's an inspiring, aspirational goal. 10,000 locations across the globe is the number that we put on it. And to the moon means that we've served and been the most impactful company for every community on this planet that will have us, that the only other location that we can open would be in the space station or on the moon. And that's literally what it means. I'm not joking. You can ask Trisha. I don't joke. It might sound crazy, but guess what? I'm a little crazy. And you know what? I think people here like that. I'm their crazy. And at the end of the day, you need a little bit of crazy if you want to do something great. And so we just appreciate you guys all listening in today. And if you'd like to be a part of that to the moon journey, we are on the launching pad with a fully built rocket ship right now. There's never been a better time to get inside of Burn Boot Camp as a franchise partner. And we are looking to bring on those who want to go get after it, right? Who have the attitude, the effort, the belief of a championship culture. If you think this is just something you can sign up for and it's going to run itself, that ain't it. If this is something that you think is, passive, that you can just do because you have deep pockets and you want to buy into a brand that has good economics, we don't want you. We want only passionate people. Only passionate people that are willing to follow the playbook, that want to come in and have something that's proven, that's been proven, that isn't a trend, that's here to stay, that is leading the industry and leading the way. Now's never been a better time because, like Trisha said, we right now are not a nationally recognized brand. Not all of my neighbors know who we are, but this time next year, they will. So there's a short window for you to hit us up on franchise.burnbootcamp.com. Go to that page, fill out that form. You're going to talk to my team on the other side. You're going to talk to Kara. And then if you're qualified and we like what you have to say and we like what you bring to the table, then you're going to potentially talk to Ed. If he likes what you have to say, then you get to talk to Morgan and Amber, our CEO and our COO. And we like to do that journey in just, a handful of weeks. We like to make sure that you're somebody that wants to get in, follow the playbook, make the commitment to the community, open up your gym. And then as soon as you are validated by our team and awarded that location, then you get to talk to me on the other side, and we get to go to town on your vision for yourself and your family together. That's, in short, how the process works. Franchise.burnbootcamp.com. Talked a lot of business today, everybody. Trisha, thank you for talking business with me.
It was so fun. Hopefully we'll see you at 2026 Summit.
Let's go. And we will resume your normally scheduled programming with fitness, nutrition, and psychology next episode. We'll take it out like we always do. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.